Enough.
Very good. Excellent. Like, great work. You nervous?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to welcome everybody once again.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Akiva Balter on behalf of the Lax family. Welcome, for lack of a better word, even though you shouldn't say welcome to something that's not a simcha. The HAKOMAS Matzeivah is taking place in Bathurst Lawn in the Clanton Park section of Bathurst Lawn Cemetery. It's a little bit north of Toronto. We expect to begin momentarily. Rabbi Grauer will be conducting the event. The meeting is being recorded. There are people scheduled to speak on Zoom. I haven't muted everybody. I see Rabbi Grauer is on. I thought he would be local. I'm not sure what his plans are. He might be handling it from Zoom as well. When we begin, I will mute everybody. Of course, I should let you know that the meeting is being recorded, and we should meet each other of Simchas. I want to thank also Barak Zvulunov and Mike Pomeranz, who are doing the work on the ground to deliver the sounds and sights from the HAKOMAS Matzeivah, and give you the opportunity to read the Matzeivah and the wording that has been composed, Leilu Nishmas, Doivra Mordechai Lax. I will be posting the Tehillim that is scheduled to be said, so you can follow it on Zoom as well.
Put in. Okay, Michael, were you able to hear me as I spoke into the Zoom meeting, right?
I am. We able to hear?
I mean, I heard through your phone.
I heard you through my phone. I didn't hear it through.
Not from the speaker, or not from my phone or the tablet.
You're not from neither. I mean, the tablet is on is muted.
There's an echo.
The sound's all the way down.
And tell him, unless he wants me to move around, I can't with the wire.
Yeah.
You have to mute the iPad.
The iPad.
Until we're going to begin.
Second.
Big picture.
Okay, I sent it to Rami and Amanda.
This meeting is
I'm
being.
sending it to Rebecca and
Thank you.
Akiva. The thing popped up first.
Where's
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Muted. Kiva?
Yeah.
It's muted.
Also, I can't move around to get better shots with
I
the
just
wire.
sent it to Akiva also.
You have to mute your phone too.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, it's Don. Don.
Whatever you want. You'll see it on the other side, but you can see here, there. Whatever you want.
Hi, Don.
Our nephew, Adam Silverstein.
It's going to be on the other side.
Hi, Shoshana. Eliza.
Okay, here. Look, Michael, look. There's okay. They're all on. There's Yaakov.
Hey, Shoshana. Hey,
Crafton's on. Zacharias is on.
Hey, hi, Yaakov. And hi, Zahara.
Hey.
Yaakov.
Yaakov.
Hi,
Another
Yaakov.
Crafton.
Gary. Jim, say hi.
Who is that?
They don't wear masks.
It's okay, Michael. Give it a second. It's fine. Connecting. Someone's connecting on.
Voice off.
Who's the Hava? No, cousin. Yeah, it's fine. Laura just went on also.
Come here.
There's a Hava.
Hi, B.
There's a Hava. I just signed on.
Z. He's at work. He's at work.
Zahava.
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 With her mask.
Go NYU NICU.
And
Oh,
Yehuda.
Jake and Elise are in their backyard.
Yeah.
They have a new beautiful house. They sit in the back there.
Okay.
It's cold here. Why not?
Because we're being taped.
It's okay.
Right?
Can't hear us.
Yeah, we're not.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to start with the Tehillim. I think as Ernie said, he posted the specific prakim that we're going to be saying. Everyone has Tehillim here. We're starting, just to give you a heads up, we're saying Perek Lamed Gimel, Perek Tet Zayin, Perek Yud Zayin, and then I'll announce the next three. Everyone can say Tehillim to themselves. Ranu tzadikim b'Adonai la'yishirim na'alasu hilah hodu v'lan defina b'nei b'azu zamu lo tiu lo tiu chadash v'kibu na'kid l'tua tia shard b'Adonai v'chol ma'aseh b'amuna oy tzako mishpat chesed na'mal ha'aretz v'dvar esna'chum na'asib roch v'tzkom chanet k'nei me'yam v'yatim v'tzikavot Yerum Adonai kol ha'aretz meno yugidu kol v'teva kihu marav me'adeach v'huchi v'amod v'nei afir tzaz v'tzat v'tzvam v'tzvam v'dor yatzir ha'goy v'tzir Adonai alav ha'am b'char v'nachal Allah mishmai b'it Adonai v'nei כל בני אדם יוכלו ספר שתיח כל יחיות יחד מקצועיהם אין המלך נושא ברוך וגיבור ונושא ברוך שקר הספיק לתשוע ברוך חילו לא ימלא תני אין אדוני אל ירב דעתים לא להתאים לשם חייס רב נעשינו בחיתו לבדם גיבור ודוכני כבשים ותפני כל כפן וכסי הפנולה חד זין נחתם לדוד שמנו אל כי ניבח אמרתי אל אדוני ספק כי בא ללך לקדושים אשר בארץ המה ועדידי כל חצי בם ירבו ועצמתם לאחר מהרו בעל יחתיך
Who also sent I'll assume I'm not in the flu Liban. Regels and I assure you some after low seas from so she recently
Zion Tila David
Shigayon David, yeah. Good time.
I'm going to shut you.
Tony some Lucy boy. Close to the initial martyr hospital. Sorry, how much? Had was holy.
Perek Ayin Bet with Shlomo Elohim Yishbatach Melech King.
Bais. Din Amcha Sedek.
I have to tell him too.
I have to tell him too.
Beit Matar al gaze himself Sefarti Frach Matzik Shalom.
Sadik Aleph Yoshi the state of Elyam.
Your speed reading. Where's he? Are we muted?
No, we're not muted.
What's he on there? Which one's he on?
Sadik.
Kuf Dalet Barchina Shiat Adonai.
Okay. You better give us some time. Hamkareva Mayim on yourself some Lecha Katerua some Eretz.
Computer here.
Tom Kavushki Siso Mayim Kusum. Full Samta by your functions.
Oh, here it is. Now he has it.
Her Kuf Lamed Shir Hamala V'Nama Kim Teraticha.
Kim Krasicha, I don't know.
Nafshi Ladonai Shamim Laboka Shamim Laboka Yachal Yisrael Ladonai Kima Na Yachas Rabbeinu Mosfetuch. He said you told me Kol Levanatav. The meaning is now that we spell out the letters in Perek Kuf Yud Tet of Dov Ben Mordechai, first one beginning of each paragraph, followed by Nishama. Davkar le'afar nafshi.
Davkar le'afar nafshi chayin kibarecha. Chaisi party v'le'onein chulkecha derech v'lecha v'nei v'zichot v'niflosecha dalfa nafshi mitucha kameni derech v'sheni Al tasam midover emes adonai m'tachei chati l'shmot v'timil l'mled v'cha b'cha kib'chuz rashti But I've been a second negative not from my voice. As Hashem is so sure have to be a second parent to say, "Basicha b'chukecha." Bais. Ramei Zakin Naisar Cholish Market Baracha, Holy Beat Rashti Chaltash Games with Sacha Bilibit, Fati Markal Malach Tamach, Rochatan Mandecha Kecha, as the party coach take Decha, Decha Shabari, Bukhan, Decha Sich Levidecha, Achashalosh Kach to Barecha. Ben. Holy Beat Rashti Chaltash was up with beats of Monday Market Roman Hotel, Rochatan Mandecha Kecha, was say the very common Decha, Decha, results as in Khan. Whatever the Rosecha Shalosh Kach to Barecha. Nun. 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 This guy's yeah. He's asleep at the wheel. Nun. That's okay. I love her hands. Here, he's helping. Nun. Ner l'raglaid v'recha b'olam sivasi. Mishpati b'kodesh ma mishpat etzis. Hafti v'chali tzvadim v'chol ha'shachar. Atis libi lasos chukkecha lo'olam eka. Man.
Mo ahavti tzrosecha.
Mo ahavti tzrosecha.
Now the letters Nishama, Nun, Shin, Mem, Hey.
What about Mordechai?
Ner l'raglaid.
Mordechai ben Zevamili, Mikol Monday Escati, Kia de Sachasichalin is a Kinas Pamenki Tech Sarti, Nicole Erech Lasik with Luna Shashman, and Tech Lasati Kita Risaiman is the Hulach, the Gimas Clement Bashlibi, Mikukas Banana, Kensanesi Kolach. Now we need Reish.
No, Nishama.
Reish. No, Mordechai.
Okay, well.
So that what Reish is
Rainy Adonai Derchecha.
He's on the end of Neshama, Harim Nedech Gecha B'Tzunke.
Which one?
Rain B'Tzunke. Hey, hardly be
He's already beyond.
Very nice.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to call upon Michael and Marcia to unveil the kever and to speak about their father.
How do we get rid of this?
Oh.
Mute ourselves.
Asking us to mute.
Mute ourselves.
Here lies Rabbi son of Mordechai and Indalika.
Closer.
The first word, Davaktaraito, describes the way that my father loved my mother dearly, clung to her, and cared for her despite the many challenges that confronted them. He was so concerned for her well-being that as he was aging, he would every once in a while make me promise
get a little bit
that
closer
at
and bend down.
120, I would take good care of my mother. My father, who lived in my home for the last 4 years of his life, would visit my mother, who suffered a stroke, at Bathurst at least twice a week. He, in his wheelchair, would sit at her bedside and hold her hand, complimenting her and expressing his love for her. The next words, Ukanesha Yair Kino. My father was the eagle who protected his family, educated his family, sustained his family. He had our back. He took great interest in his children and grandchildren. He would speak to every grandchild with full attention, giving advice and help when required. He was about staka. My father gave generously to his community. He kept the doors of Yavne Day School open. He also supported his family. He didn't have to be told. He and my mom knew when to step up and help. I also remember how he helped so many of our family when they immigrated to the United States. Bechukot Hashem halach. My father was committed to Torah and mitzvah. Although he did not attend yeshiva, he was influenced by his grandfather and realized that he needed to marry an Orthodox woman. He encountered great hardship when in 1959 he moved to Los Angeles and refused to work on Shabbos. He would get hired as a pharmacist in drugstores on a Sunday and then get fired on Friday for refusing to work on Shabbos. He decided that he had to go it alone. So he started his own business, a chain of hospital pharmacies, and Hashem rewarded him with financial success. Next word, Mikudmim Tiber, a composer of music. My father was for many years a workaholic, but found the time to be involved with the community and to devote time to one of his many hobbies, composing music. He was very well-rounded in all kinds of secular genres of music, having grown up in New York, not going to yeshiva. But at the same time, he was brought up in an era that truly appreciated cantorial davening. So amazingly, he composed an entire album of chazanot, which he had recorded and sung by a well-known cantor in his day, Chazon Shoha. But what really stands out is that every week at our Shabbos table, my father would sing many zmiros at all the meals. The next word, Madan Melumad. My father was a man of science. He received his master's degree in chemistry and his PhD in pharmacology from Columbia University. He taught at the Bronx School of Science in the 1950s.
He sits a little closer, so maybe.
For those of you who may not be familiar, the Bronx School of Science was founded in 1938 and is the high school with the most Nobel laureates in the world, 8. I, as a child, remember accompanying him to work and watching him compound medications. He was an avid reader of all things science. Each month, after he read Popular Science Magazine and Popular Mechanics, he would drop them off at my house. He would marvel at each new invention and always used to say that he wished he could see 100 years into the future to see what science was next.
Keep the microphone down.
When I was a young child, we used to watch Star Trek every week, and he used to say, "What's fiction today will be real in the future." I believed it, except for the transporter.
Yeah.
Ra'av Pa'al Lechinot. My father, Dov Ben Mordechai, was highly educated, spoke 5 languages, and as I have described, a teacher at one point in his life. He had a teaching degree from Columbia University. He valued education, especially Jewish education, and that's why he made sure we attended Jewish day school. He always supported Jewish education, and at one point he was the president of Yavne Hebrew Academy. As a young child, I remember on the way to shul, he would give us a word, ask us meaning, make us spell it, and use it in a sentence. He would then test our multiplication skills. He expected all A's from Susie, Jerry, and I, but was always okay with our grades as long as we did our best. Baruch Hashem, he 95% got what he wanted. He always expressed the importance of a great education. The next words, Dubar Mesharim. The way he expressed and conducted himself was always straight. No games, no nonsense. He had a sense of humor and liked a good joke, especially in Yiddish, but he believed your word is your word, and a handshake meant something. Kochot Amitzim. He put his efforts into many different things, both personal and business, and was successful. He was a resilient man who endured many obstacles in his life. He had a strong work ethic and always said, if you're going to do something, do it right. Yad Hashem Bafiv. My father, in his endeavors, always relied on Hashem and consistently articulated the words Yad Hashem when taking on a new endeavor or reliving an old experience. He had bitachon in Hashem. He used to say, you're competing with yourself, do your best, and the rest is in God's hands. The next line reads, Ben Lex was a devoted and loving husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. I will now finish by explaining why we engraved the words an independent thinker. When reviewing my father's life, his traits and accomplishments, we found a common thread in the way he lived his life, and that was he was an independent thinker. Although he did not go to yeshiva and was entrenched in the secular world, he decided he wanted to marry an Orthodox woman. He stopped eating meat and poultry in the 1960s, well before it became normal to do so. He was an entrepreneur and was constantly thinking out of the box, which led him to business success. He also applied that trait to helping people through philanthropy and chesed in a variety of ways. In his early 80s, he decided that he should go through all of Shas using the art scroll. He never let the norm or people's opinions get in his way. It is something that we admired about him while he was alive, but in retrospect, appreciate even more. My father was committed to education and Gemilut Chasadim. He was loved and respected for his devotion to family, community, and Am Yisrael. Dad, we love you and we'll miss you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Marcia, I'd like to call upon Dr. Ernie Agustin to speak about his father-in-law.
Okay. Susie and I are at Jerry and Dawn's house in Passaic, and I'm glad we're here together as a family to be able to express these thoughts. These are the things.
Hold 1 second.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. These are the things Susie has been talking about, and Susie and I have been thinking about Dad. He always, Yad Hashem was always on his lips. We have been very fortunate to have Dad as a role model and extremely grateful to Hashem for giving us our father. He totally provided for everything we needed growing up. Education was extremely important for him, himself, his family, and others. Teaching his children, always benching on Shabbos out loud as kids, singing Zmiros, composing Zmiros, always reading and learning, reading newspapers and magazines about science, history, politics, business magazines, Wall Street Journal, Art Scroll Gomorrah, everything about Israel. And he shared his knowledge with his family. He would send family members and articles. I mean, I always got in the mail, a new urology discovery. He was voracious, and he wanted to make sure that we saw something that interested in him. Of course, he was entrepreneurial with his hospital pharmacies. Early on, when computers were first being used, he worked on an invention with a Russian scientist about a new computer chip. I mean, it was just amazing. This Russian scientist had developed a new mechanism of making chips. And Dad had computers in his office before anybody had computers. He understood that this was going to revolutionize technology. And I remember when Susie and I moved into Martel, he brought us this massive computer, and we did use it for a while. We could print checks and things. So he was just really so far ahead of his time. He invented and produced a pain cream called No Pain, Sindalore. But his focus always was his family, interested in his children and then his grandchildren, what they were doing. And each one of our grandchildren, he made sure that he established a relationship with them. And he would take them aside and sit down with them and talk to them and try to develop with every one of his grandchildren across the whole family. He had tremendous respect for his in-laws, who he treated like his parents. He had lost his parents too early. Then Grandma Leah's parents became like his parents. And also the kind of relationship he had with his mechutanim was extremely respectful and just a tremendous role model. He gave sincere encouragement. He saw in shul, in the community that he was in, lots of single men. And he constantly were coaching them and trying to get them married. And they all got married eventually. He was very happy about that. He was extremely principled and proper, a hard worker. And he instilled this work ethic in all of his children. He was very generous, helpful to his family and long-lost relatives. He wasn't interested in acquiring things for himself. He did have this penchant for beautiful convertible Cadillacs, but those he put up in storage, and he wasn't really somebody who acquired all sorts of gadgets and things. He was more interested in helping his family financially. Susie told me that he had them all the children watch the moon landing. And there were other programs like Alistair Cook played The Last of the Mohicans. These were very educational to the children. Dad had Sunday night rap sessions with Michael, Jerry, and Susie.
Sunday.
You could bring up any issue, like a family town hall meeting. Of course, he collected stamps, coins. He was a vegetarian for over 50 years, and he exercised every day before it was fashionable. And he was really traumatized by the fact that his parents had died early from colon cancer. So in a time where colonoscopy hadn't even been invented, today you all understand it's a regular thing, but he sought out in Los Angeles the guy who did first colonoscopy, and he was almost like a guinea pig. But he recognized that if you found something early, and he had a colonoscopy every year, and I remember the whole process leading up, there was a whole process. And then he went to the restaurant afterwards to bolster up because he hadn't eaten before. I mean, but it was extremely educational to the rest of us because you have to take care of yourself. And Dad had always told me he would not have been alive. He, thank God, lived to Arichas Yomim, and he gave credit to preventative health. Every time he had a colonoscopy, they had found polyps, and they removed the polyps. And we know now that that's how colon cancer starts. It starts with a polyp. If you remove the polyps, you can avoid it. And Dad was a perfect example of being on top of things like that. Most important, most of all, he always took care of Grandma Leah. For many years, he worried about her. And he had meetings separately with Susie, and I believe with Michael and Jerry as well, at least twice a year, about the concept of taking care of Mom after he was gone. From a personal standpoint, he respected and loved my mother, Rochelle Agatstein. They had a great relationship. And of course, as I said before, with the other Machatonim, he treated me like a son, not like a son-in-law. Susie always tells me that Mom and him spotted me at the Walkenfeld wedding and inquired who I was. And the next day, without knowing any of this, nor any communication with anyone, I called Susie to take her out. I didn't know that they had spotted me or anything like that. So again, Yad Hashem was obviously at work. So Dad, you have successfully instilled your good values in your family. And of course, we miss you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ernie. I'd like to call upon Rabbi Korobkina to say a few words as well.
Thank you very much. First of all, to Michael, Susie, and Jerry, thank you very much for giving me the honor of offering a few words at the HAKOMAS Matzeivah. I just want to say that I'm really not speaking on behalf of myself, but rather on behalf of the entire Goldfinger family. Uncle Ben's sister-in-law, brother-in-law, his nieces and his nephews. There were two Weisberger sisters in LA so many years ago growing up, raising their families. And of course, this created a very, very tight-knit relationship between the two families. And that tight-knit relationship, Baruch Hashem, continues to this day. I don't think that I've met closer cousins than our family and the Agatstein Lax families. And Baruch Hashem, it's a beautiful thing to see. Sometimes it feels like they're siblings instead of cousins. But what I wanted to say is that the references that Michael made to and that others have made reference to Ernie as far as helping family. This was such an important part of the two Weisberger sisters. They were always there to help each other. And especially Uncle Ben really viewed my mother-in-law and father-in-law as his own kin all the time. And there were so many ways in which he was so helpful to the entire Goldfinger family. My father-in-law credits Uncle Ben with opening the door for him when he was first starting off in his accountancy profession and introducing him to so many important people. And it just goes on from there. And it would be perhaps inappropriate to delineate anything more than that. But I do want to share with you a thought. You know, after the Korach insurrection, the Torah says that Moshe Rabbeinu
wanted to demonstrate how important it was to accept those who were chosen by Hashem to lead the Jewish people. And in particular, to demonstrate how Aharon HaKohen was chosen by God to be the Kohen Gadol. And so Hashem instructs him to take a staff that represents Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, to place it in the Kodesh HaKadosh, in the Holy of Holies, to surround it by 12 other staffs, and then to go home, everyone go home and come back in the morning. And everyone comes back, and behold, Aharon's staff, the Torah says, Vayotze Ferach, Vayotze Tzitz, Vayigmol Shkedim, that it was able to, it had flowers on it, it had buds of almonds, and it had fully grown almonds. And all of the other staffs had nothing because they were not privy to that miracle. And the Torah just says that each person took his staff and they left, and that was the sign. There are so many questions to that story and why Hashem chose that particular miracle. But it occurs to me that there are two features that I'd like to accentuate at this particular moment that I think are applicable to Uncle Ben. The first thing is that, normally there are certain kinds of trees that can self-pollinate, which means that they can grow their fruit without any other trees in the environment. What makes an almond tree unique is that the only way that an almond tree can grow almonds is if there are other almond trees in its vicinity. You need cross-pollination between the stamens of one tree and the pistils of another tree in order for the almond tree to grow almonds. And part of what the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show Bnei Israel is that Aharon was unique, because usually we are all social animals. We all rely on a sense of community to feel a sense of fortification, to feel that we are being bolstered by what other people in our community are doing, so that when we feel a certain spiritual weakness, we go to shul, we go to a shir, and we feel bolstered and strengthened by others. But Aharon was different. Normally, an almond tree requires other almond trees to pollinate it and help it grow. The miracle was that Aharon's staff grew independently without relying upon anyone else's staff to help pollinate it and help it grow these beautiful flowers and these beautiful almonds. And so that's the first lesson, is that I think that you heard the last thing that Michael mentioned about his father's Matzeivah is an independent thinker. It's not only independent thinker, but independent person in general. Uncle Ben grew up in an environment which did not necessarily nurture his commitment to orthodoxy, but he was able to pollinate, self-pollinate, as it were, and to be able to grow his own sweet fruits that he was able to share and pass on to so many other people. That's part of the miracle of when you see someone who is that independent and self-made, that you say that is truly remarkable, and that's why they deserve to become the high priest or the leader within their family and community. And the second miracle I think that is important to underscore about this story of the staff of Aaron is that normally when an almond tree grows, there are three stages of the growth. First, the tree grows flowers, and then the flowers fall off the tree, and the almonds begin to bud. The flowers are replaced by small little buds. And then the buds grow and they start to break out of their smaller container, and they become larger and larger. And then they become fully grown almonds. That's normally a three-stage process. What was miraculous about the staff of Aaron is not only did it all happen overnight, but that all three stages happened simultaneously. The staff that they were all able to see had flowers, had buds, had fully grown almonds all at the same time. This was a demonstration to Klal Yisrael that Aharon had a unique ability to have this agility to deal with all different stages of life and all different walks of life, all different kinds of people. There are some people who are pigeonholed into only dealing with members of the frum community. There are other people who are pigeonholed to be able to deal with only people in their profession. But Uncle Ben was truly a Renaissance man, as you've just heard just from these small little vignettes. He was cosmopolitan. He was knowledgeable in all different walks of life. He had this tremendous thirst to be able to know anything and everything that he could possibly access. And because of that, he was able to relate to so many different walks of life. He could relate to Rabbanim. He could relate to scientists. He could relate to people who were involved perhaps in the humanities. Because he was so well read and because he had this thirst to know and to share his knowledge and to help, he was accessible to everyone who knew him. And that's truly a gift, that he was able to relate to each one of his children, each one of his relatives in a unique and different way. It's truly a bracha to have been able to have Uncle Ben in the family, and we are the beneficiaries, and we are all that much richer because of him. Yizichro Baruch Tehei Nishmasu Tzurura B'Tzror Hachaim. And the only last thing that I'll say is that it is truly a bracha to see his legacy being lived large by all of his children and grandchildren. Continue to live up to what Uncle Ben passed on to you.
So you have to go after this. Okay, unplug.
1 second.
And turn to landscape.
I have to do them.
FM mode. Bluetooth mode.
Followed by Kaddish for Michael, followed by the Kelmale that we're going to ask Rabbi Sonnenberg to say. I'm going to say a special tefillah for the neshama of Mr. Ben Lex. Ano Adonai Malei Rachum Asher B'Yadcha Nefesh Kol Chai Ruach Kol Basar Ish Yiyad Na L'Ratzon L'Fanecha Toratenu U'Tfilatenu Ba'avur Nishmat Dov Ben Mordechai Gumul Na Ima B'Chastecha Hagadol L'Toach La Sha'arei Rachamim B'Chesed B'Sha'arei Gan Eden U'Tekabel Oto B'Ahava U'Bechiva U'Shlach La Malachecha HaKadoshim B'Hatohorim L'Holicha Olahoshiva Tachat Eight Hachaim Eitzel Nishmot Hatzadikim V'Hatzikaniot Chasidim V'Chasidot Lehanot Miziv Shchinatcha Lahasbiya Mituvcha Hatzafon Tzadikim V'Haguf Yanuach B'Kever B'Menucha Nechona B'Chedba U'Desimcha B'Shalom K'Dichtiv Yavo Shalom Yanuchu Al Mishkvotam Holech Nichochom Uktiv Yalzu Chasidim B'Chavod Yerunu Al Mishkvotav Uktiv im tishkav lo tifchad v'shachavta ve'arba shnotecha v'tishmor oto mechibut hakever u'merima v'toleya v'tislach la v'timcho lo al kol v'sha'av ki adam ein tzadik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta u'zechor lo zechuyotav v'tzidkotav asher asa v'tashpia lo minishmato l'dashen Atzmotav B'Kever Nerov Tuva Tzafon L'Tzadikim Dechtiv Ma Rav Tuvcha Asher Tzafanta Lireyecha Uktiv Shomer Kol Otzmotav Achat Meinu Lo Nishbara Vayishkon Betach Badad V'Sha'anan Mipachad Ra'ah V'Al Yireh Pnei Gehenom Nishmato Tei Tzura Yitzur Hachaim L'Achayot V'Tchiyat Hametim Im Kol Metei Amcha Yisrael B'Rachamim Amen.
Gadol B'Gadash B'Rabah B'Amad B'Rachuteh B'Mitzvah Today V'Smach B'Kanev B'Kar Mishitei V'Chay Yechod B'Nechonu V'Chay Yechol Beit Yisrael V'Laz B'Kari B'Merameh Eish B'Ramah Maya Yitzrah B'Tzvah B'Tzvar B'Tzram Yinaseh Yitzadar B'Tzlef B'Laos Make Shab Yechol Leila B'Kol B'Chatav Shiratat Shiratat Nechmatad B'Miram B'Amad B'Rameh Eish L'Rabah Yishmaya V'Chaim Tovim Alein V'Lal Yisrael B'Rameh Oseh Shalom Yirama V'Yosef Shalom Alein V'Lal Yisrael B'Rameh Amen.
El Malei Rachamim Shultein Bamromim Amzeh Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei Hashchina B'Ma'alot Kedoshim U'Torim Kezohar Harakia Masirim Et Nishmat Tov Ben Mordechai Shehalach Le'olamo Bavur Shebno Yiten Tzedakah Bar Haskarat Nishmato V'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchato Lachem Bal Rachamim Yasirei B'Seter Knafav Le'olamim Yitzor B'Sor HaChaim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'Nuch B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen.
We all pray that Ben Lax will be a Melitz Yosher for all of his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren for many generations to come. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Some rocks over here.
Ask Akiva. I should turn it on.
Switch the Wi-Fi. Go ahead.
Is Rebecca or?
I was going to say, we're unmuted here. I hope everybody could hear us. This is Jerry, just off script. I want to thank everybody who participated. Rabbi Korobkina, Rabbi Grauer. I don't know if Rabbi Grauer can hear us. I want a special thank you from Susie and me and Ernie and Dawn to Michael and Marcia, who are on site there orchestrating and just making sure that the proper kavod was given to our father. So thank you, and we love you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We love you. Thank you.
Here's Ezra.
It's being taped.
Here's Ezra. There's B and J. There's Elisa. There's Dahlia. There's Usher.
Being taped.
Usher Lax.
Ashi, weird. What's up, Ashi?
It's Ashi Lax.
Hi, Ashi.
Hi, Ashi.
Hi, how are you, Susie and Ernie? How are you? Yaakov?
Hi, everyone.
There's Yona Lax.
Don, thank you. You know, and Hoodsy and of course, Jerry. Welcome to So Nice.
And there's Dahlia, and there's Dawn.
Hi, Dad.
There's Lisa. Layla, is that you?
Yeah, and Jay.
There's Layla.
Hi, Ashley.
And there's
Hi, Yona.
Hi, Dahlia.
And here's Nathaniel. There's Yaakov and Danielle.
And Dove.
And Ariella and Atalia.
And Ayala.
And Shimi Chaim.
And it's me, Uncle Yaakov.
Uncle Yaakov.
Ima, how do you, I want to do the balloon.
Yaakov is the new prime minister doing a good job.
Good luck. Good luck.
What is this? Well, she said you were gonna.
Rabbi Korobkina, thank you very much.
I need the charger.
Thank you for the honor. It's great to see your whole mishpacha here.
No more.
Yaakov, I hope to visit you soon in Yerushalayim. We should all be there.
Mirz Hashem. Danielle put on tefillin for the first time today. It was Hanachas tefillin.
Wow, mazel tov. Amazing. Amazing.
Yaakov.
Thank you. And his bar mitzvah is Parshas Re'eh, yeah.
Yaakov, Tuvia already gave us the report. Mazel tov. He said it was so nice to see everyone.
Yeah.
So nice.
It was so nice.
It was really nice.
Came.
Yeah, it was very special.
We got to see the boys. It was really nice. Yeah. Such a big man.
Thank you, B and J.
Want me to sign off?
Oh, there's Linda. Mazel tov on your simcha.
Linda and Sylvan just walked out of the room. We were there, of course. It was such a beautiful.
Linda. Mazel tov to you on your
Mazel tov to you,
simcha.
and Mazel tov, happy anniversary.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
I have a great venue
Yeah,
for you.
let's sign off. Okay.
Simcha.
I'm gonna.
Very sad. Very sad.
By the way, I booked you a ticket. No, seriously, it's on hold.